Good. All right. So today the idea is to give you some information and interact with you on university interviews, right? We're going to do that for the first half of the session. And then, as Kato said before, we're going to have some questions from you and hopefully good answers. So let's start. Okay, so here are some facts about college interviews. They are regularly 20 to 30-minute conversations with either an admissions officer, alumni, or current students, right? So you should be prepared to meet either of these three people. They can be on campus. This is what they're used to, having them on campus live. It could be in person in your community. So some universities have, their centers here in Buenos Aires, so probably they would ask you to go over there. But for us, they're going to be mostly virtual, okay? And the first thing we're going to mention is that the main topic of conversation is going to be you. So, try to relax, try to be as open and as chatty as possible. And just remember to go ahead and do some research before. You're supposed to know a lot of information about university so that you can interact, so that you can ask specifically what got you interested in that university. So that's the first thing that we're going to say. Even though they expect you to make questions, there is some basic information, there are some basic facts that you should have beforehand. So over to you. What do you think that the purpose of having a college interview is? Why would you choose to have one?
Maybe we can stop sharing so that we can see each other. And why would you go through this experience of, interviews generally are voluntary. It's not 100% like requirement. Like, no, I don't think there's a school that requires college interviews, right? So it's something optional, but we strongly recommend you participate in those, unless maybe it's very hard for you. Some people are very, very, very shy and don't feel comfortable in those situations, which is okay. Okay, so but maybe you can prepare for that if you're super shy and you don't want to be in that situation. So why would you think might be a good resource for you and for the university to be part of an interview?
Well, for the
Yes, Santi, go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't raise my hand.
Don't worry.
I think that the main point of having the interview is to know the best that they can about yourself, and what are you going to, how are you going to improve the university, or what do you have to share with the university? I don't know if that's correct or not.
Right, and imagine, they do know a lot already from your application. So why would they go through the whole thing? It's a thing to actually set the interviews, find the people who can interview you. Why would they do that? Why do you think? Juan, Santi, I don't know if you were going to expand on that.
Well, I am thinking of two reasons. The first one, especially for our part, is that maybe it shows like further commitment and interest on the institution, but also maybe like they want to finally check or make sure that the person they saw through the application process is the person they are going to maybe accept or give a rejection letter. It's like another step, and maybe actually can be a good signal, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. Yes, absolutely. Santi, what about you?
Yeah, I definitely agree with Juani. That was just I was going to say, but I want to add that it's a good way to let them know you in another way, because when we write essays, well, we are showing our personality or ourselves, but I think it's another way to show how interested we are and how excited we are from being part of their community. So that's why I think that we should ask questions and show how excited we are with that interview, because it's really hard to have some time to know a student or an admission officer, because well, it's really hard. They don't have time.
Exactly. Ro?
Yeah, I agree with what they have said. I think it's also important to show them that you are really interested and that you have done your research about the university, and also to show your personality in another way, to let them know like how could you behave within the community of the school, like what kind of classmate you would be maybe.
Absolutely. Yes.
So maybe we can go back to the presentation, right?
Yeah.
And let them know what we thought.
We're going to see our list. So, okay. So here you have some of the reasons why we think you should consider booking a college interview. This one you mentioned, guys. Juani and Santi touched on the fact that it is a good opportunity to demonstrate interest, to let them know that you're excited about going there. It's also a good opportunity to learn about the institution. Again, maybe not basic questions, basic information, but if you are interested in a program, or if you're interested in the subjects that you are going to take and you want to know a little bit more about it, that's a good opportunity for specific questions, as it says here. As you said, you also talked about showing your personality in a different way, right? So that is basically it. It is also good, to show off your English skills, to let them know that you can communicate, that you can interact with them. So that's also a pretty good part of the interview. Then if you want to, expand on your high school records, if you want to talk about any specific year, any specific period that you might think would throw some light to your application, this is a good chance as well, and to expand on the rest of the aspects of your application you would like to talk about. Caro, do you want to add anything else here?
No, let's go on.
Okay. So we have some tips for you. This is what you should do before having the interview. So as we said before, research is quite important. Preparing your questions, because sometimes we get a little bit nervous by thinking questions on the spot. So if you already know what you're going to ask, just try to jot down your ideas and have them ready. Get a good night's sleep, so be rested. Try not to get that nervous. We know that it's kind of an uncomfortable situation because you're talking to someone that you don't know at all, and sometimes that you can get a little bit shy. But if you are relaxed, if you have had some rest, that will be not as bad. Then typical things before all kinds of interview: be on time, dress appropriately, and in the case of virtual interviews, just check the link, check that your microphone's working, check that the sound of your computer is okay, so that you don't kind of waste somebody else's time, because that is quite important.
Yeah, and I'm going to add something. Make sure that you're wherever you are, the background of wherever you are looks good, right? Sometimes backgrounds can tell a lot about a student, so be careful with your backgrounds as well, and like whoever is at home or where you're doing, the interview. Okay, that's an extra tip.
So during the interview, you know that all interviews are going to start with a quick introduction on your part. So try to have that, prepared and practiced. Just a short intro to let them know about you. Then try to be genuine, try to be specific. So the idea here is to share things that are relevant about yourself, that you want to share, that you would like them to know. So just go ahead and share those bits that would showcase the best of you. Then, as we said before, try to show interest in the school. Answer the questions that they ask, right? So they might have some questions for you. Sometimes you are just prepared to say your piece and that's it. But, kind of pay attention and listen closely to their questions and what they actually want to know about you. Getting sidetracked and just talking about something else is not a good thing to do in these situations. So just relax, calm down, listen to the questions. You can ask for repetition if you didn't fully understand what they were trying to ask you. So, just picture it as a conversation in which you would need to give information and ask for information in the best way possible. So yeah, ask for clarification and do most of the talking. So the idea is that you share information about you. If you just answer yes, no, maybe, or I don't know, that does not is not actually the purpose of the whole thing. So just try to go ahead, expand on what you're being asked, and try to let them know that they have your whole attention. That's why it says there, look at the screen. So even though sometimes, we just start speaking because we don't really know what to do with the camera, just try to, be be mindful that you need to be here present and try to communicate towards the camera. It's kind of awkward sometimes because I don't know if you guys are fully comfortable with this already. After 2 years we should be, but sometimes it's a little bit tricky, and you should be aware of that too.
Yeah, I just want to comment a couple of things. Do have a self-introduction ready, but don't learn it by heart because it shows, right? Just know what you're going to say, make a bullet point of the things that you want to mention, and remember that they already have your application. So a good tip here might be to maybe mention something memorable about yourself that maybe there was no space to share about in your application, right? So maybe something like, I don't know, it can be anything, just be genuine, right? I'm this and this and that, I'm so and so and so, today was a long day, or I'm just coming back from training, or I think that it would be nice, and this is just my personal opinion, to mention something about your everyday life, like something genuine that will make you memorable, but be genuine. Do not just be yourself, right? I'm just going to mention something that we liked about an interview, and it was yours, Santi. We were talking about books. We were talking about, I don't know how, and you just took a book from your bookcase and you showed it to us, and it was like, no, look, I'm reading this. And he was genuinely showing it was an act of real, genuineness. I don't know if that's a word. He was being very genuine, and we love that, and those kinds of things that show your personality. I mean, don't don't plan them, right? We're not saying plan them. We're just saying be yourself and do not plan to say something acted out, like do not have a speech prepared. Okay, just yes, do have a bullet point of the things that you want to mention, but don't act as somebody that you're not. Okay, just that note, I wanted to point that out.
Yeah, not like oh, accidentally I have here all the medals I got through primary school.
No, don't do that, please.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so these are some of the popular talking points. These are what they might want you to expand on. So, you can tap on what you like to learn, your interests, your hobbies, your extracurriculars. As Caro said, have in mind that they already read your application. So maybe repeating the information is not good, but probably expanding on that, or sharing some updates on all of these. So
I'm going to mention something that can happen to you, as it happened to some of our students. Sometimes they do not read the application, and sometimes it's people that are, especially with alumni, meaning students who were there, and maybe, for example, they are living here in Argentina, working here in Argentina, and the universities have them interview you, right? So this happened to Santi from last year. He was like, for me, like, these interviews are for us alumni to keep engaged with the institution. So, it's really not, he was like very cocky, and he was like, yeah, what's the meaning of life? So he asked him that, so it can happen that you run into these like characters, and that's okay. That could happen to you. Don't be afraid. Just like try to be, again, as genuine as possible. That's generally not the norm, but it could happen, right? Like maybe there's a very weird alumni there that maybe did not read your application, and just give them an overview of who you are and where you're interested in that university, or take advantage of that to ask questions. Okay, but these are the typical topics, and generally the idea is for you to expand on those things that you couldn't talk about in your application, in those limited characters that you have. So don't go very quickly over something like that you mentioned already in your application, but use this time to expand on those things that you couldn't. Right? So maybe explain why you changed schools or not. Okay, it depends, right? So there are certain things that sometimes you don't find a space to talk about in your application. This might be a good time. Okay. That's it.
Yeah, well, and the rest are, they're kind of predictable. They might ask you about your home life, what makes you unique. And that, it's a hard one to think on the spot, like probably having in mind that these are topics that could arise. You might want to think of what your answer is going to be. Reasons for choosing the school, this has to do with the research you had already done about it, and the impact you will have on the school community if you are admitted. So those are some that might need for you to have some thought previously, right? To do some thinking before. Let's see. Okay, and then after the interview, just make sure you get the interviewer's contact information, and typically what people is used to doing is just go ahead and shoot them an email and thank them for their time. Just this is kind of part of the interview's etiquette. That this is something that people do. If you had the interview before sending your application, maybe it's a good idea to mention them in the application at some point. And it's also good to keep in touch with them in case you need to ask for further questions, ask for the information, and they can clarify a lot of things you may need to know about the institution. So it's a good idea to be in contact with them.
Yeah, Martu and Santi told us that they kept in touch with their interviewers in some cases. So it does happen that you keep in touch with them, and they can be a good source for clarification. So do keep in touch with them. Generally, they are very nice, and generally, in most of the cases, they are alumni, okay, or current students, unless they are very small colleges. Like when I was in Iowa, I went to this university that the admissions officer interviewed all of the applicants to the university. And I was like, what? Yeah, I interview every student that is here. I have interviewed them and I've met them, so it really depends on the university and the size of the university as well. So this is a question for you. We're going to stop sharing screen again. What are the don'ts? What shouldn't you do when you're on an interview? Don't invent stuff. It will show. What else? Don't act super informal, okay? Don't swear. Don't repeat things that you've seen on TV. I know that we shouldn't be telling you this, but sometimes you get nervous and you do stuff that you don't know why you did them. So be careful with those things, Santiago.
One thing that I may not do in an interview is probably fidget much with my body, because it would show that I'm nervous, and it might be not a really good sign for the university.
Yeah, we understand that interviews can be hard and that you might be nervous. I think that they are used to people being nervous, but if you can avoid it, it's better, right? To try to be chill, as relaxed as possible, and try to think of this as a good opportunity to practice your English, and that's it. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, let's use that as an opportunity to practice your English, and that's it. And sometimes that's a good idea to think it as such. Mora?
Hi, everybody. Hi, Caro. Hi,
Hey.
everyone. We said this the time we met in person, having proper manners. So not interrupting much, of course, talking, but not interrupting much, using proper language. Those things are important.
Yeah, not interrupting the interviewer is key. And we forgot to mention that. Thank you, Mora. Yeah, good. Any other? That might be good. Like, I mean, if you're, I'm having second thoughts about mate. It might be a good idea to have your mate if you generally have mate and tell them about mate, for example, but don't make a mess, right? And don't take a lot of time explaining about what mate is, right? If you're like Santiago last year, he made his whole essay about mate, right? He wrote his essay on his mate drinking. And if you're an assiduous drinker of mate or something, you can have it there with you, but don't act it out. If you don't feel like having mate, don't prepare your mate just for the interview, right? So, yeah, that's another tip. Any other you can think of? Well, use your common sense, right? And have a couple of questions ready. I know that we've mentioned that, but don't ask, I don't know, like try to be clever with the questions that you're going to ask them. Don't ask things that you can find in the website, okay? That's my don't. And don't go to an interview unprepared, okay? So, yeah, how can questions on interviews, and then if there are no questions on interviews, we'll pass on to general questions that you might have on the application process. Juani.
Yes, I wanted to ask like a basic thing, maybe like how much time usually well, after you send the application, these interviews usually take place on?
So you should start when you're researching universities, check if they are not already offering interviews. Sometimes you can already start doing them. Okay, so that's why we're doing this right now, so that you start researching if that's a possibility, because this is the moment when interviews start. Okay, so look it up in the website. Sometimes they wait till you have submitted your application because they don't want to interview lots of people that did not apply, right? It demands a lot of time. So sometimes they do wait until you've done you've applied. Okay, so check the availability of them on their websites. There was a question, I think. What is the basic university information that we should know? You tell me. Don't ask questions about majors. Don't ask questions about, all the information that you can look up in I don't know what, Wikipedia, or when you do the basic search and it's there, yeah, like tuition and whatever you can easily find in the website. Don't ask about that, right? It's those, for example, Martu asked them, what is something that you would change about college, about your college where you went to? And they were like, ooh, nobody has asked me that before. Let me think. And they came up with a very politically correct answer, right? But it was not very telling. But yeah, I mean, this person was very politically correct. Maybe a student there might tell you something more, like something that you really wanted to know, or I don't know. It's really very personal what you want to ask. Take advantage of this time to see fit, to see if you would, this feeling that you've been having that you're a good fit for this university is really so. Or maybe if it's a student there, you can ask them about like everyday stuff for them, people like to talk about themselves. So maybe you could ask a personal, not personal question, right? Like a very personal question was, well, do you have a boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever, right? Don't ask that. But you can ask them, what's your favorite class there and why? Or what's the best thing? I don't know. I can't think of something right now, but something that is related to the student that could be telling for you in a way, okay, about daily life there. So it's really up to you, things that you wouldn't find on a website, which has to do with like actually being there. I would suggest those kinds of questions. Yeah. Sure. More questions on interviews? No. Okay, cool.
Oh, there's one which says how to request or book an interview. You should go for that on the website.
Yeah. Or if you don't see information there, you can write to the admissions officer and ask them if they will be available at some point. But generally the information is somewhere on the website. Okay, so check that first. If you don't see it, write to the admissions officers. I mean, the information of the admissions officer is there. Sometimes you even have like descriptions of the things that they like and that they don't like, and like they're introducing themselves, so they are approachable. They want you to reach out to them, so lose the fear of writing to them. Do write to them with questions. Okay, cool. Ooh. All right, so those people who left and went to have coffee or merienda or whatever, you can come back. And let's open it up for any kinds of questions that you might have on the application process. So you are all getting your recommendation letters. You are all, completing your Common App application. You are all starting to consider what you're going to write on the essay, or writing your first drafts and sharing those with your friends or with your teachers or with us. So hopefully we're all on the same page, okay? So that's what you should be doing. And if you're not doing that, ouch, okay? Especially if you're applying early decision, okay? If you're applying early decision and you're not doing that, shame on you. If you are not applying early decision, okay, you have some time left, okay, to start worrying and going crazy. When are we going to have a session on the CSS profile? Oh, we already have, a great webinar that is recorded and ready for you to watch whenever you want in our YouTube channel. I'm going to share that with you in a second so that you can start already with that. Yeah, you can start watching that. And we're going to have a consultation session on the CSS profile. Hopefully, we're going to have somebody who already has completed that, because me, Carolina, I have never completed the CSS profile. I know the content there, but it's different when there's somebody who has actually done it. So we always like to have somebody who did it. But if you already want to, start learning about the CSS profile, Giuliano made an amazing video on all his suggestions on the CSS profile, and you can find it in our YouTube channel, okay? I'll try to look it up for you, but otherwise it's there. Look for Giuliano CSS profile. I'm going to try and find it for you, but you're great finders of information. You're guys your age, you can find that if I tell you the keywords. So go find it, and if you don't find it, I'll share it with you in a second. I can't talk and find something, it's very hard for me. So how and when did she get the interview? Martu. Martu did many interviews. Most of them happened after she applied, okay? So she applied early decision and she applied to regular decision, and then most of them happened after she applied, okay? But some of them you can already, go and interview, okay? So look it up in the website, okay? Because each university is different. Thank you, Rocio, for sharing the recording. Thank you very much. Awesome. More questions. We're here till 5:30. So después me mandan mails con preguntas. Aprovechen que estamos acá. Después los mails, who knows when I'm going to answer them. Santi.
I have received a question from a CCC student that it's not here, but it's about boletines.
Okay.
She asks me if we have to upload all the boletines of each year, of every year at high
we've
school.
said this. Who was that? Tell them that I'm mad. Carolina is mad and she doesn't want to answer that question. A ver, ¿quién puede responder? Santi, you should know the answer. Come on.
Yes, from the last 4 years.
The last 4 years.
I wasn't sure. I told her. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the last 4 years. Because for them, so look, you upload the last 4 years, okay? But have ready the first, all the 5 of you might have 5, you might have 6. It depends on your high school. Have everything translated, okay? From first year to 6th year, or from first year to 5th year, have everything translated just in case, okay? So they are going to request the last 4, because for them, high school is the last 4 years, They don't care about your performance like a long, long time ago. They want to know how you performed during the last 4 years, okay? Have them ready there, at least the Spanish version, just in case, because there might be 1 or 2 schools who request everything. They might be, oh, could you send the other 2, please? or could you send the report cards for year 1 and year 2, and you send those as well, okay, if they request them. But it's the last 4. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Santi, for acting as a go-between. Thank you. Andres.
I have 2 questions because of what Sandy said instead of 1. First of all, the 4 years are this year and the other 3, or the other 4? Oh,
Yeah.
right.
This
So
year,
no
whatever
year.
you have from this year and the last 3 years.
So 3 years and a half would be
exactly.
Okay? All right.
Yeah.
And then I have a question. Even though I sat for the SAT last week, I will be sitting again on October because I didn't do quite well, and I know I can do better. So
Okay.
how can I organize? Because I'm applying early decision, so I have to send everything for the 1st of November. And if I'm studying for the SAT on October, it won't be manageable to do everything in October. So what should I have prepared besides the SAT for the 1st of October? What would you advise?
So that's a tough one because that's why if you're applying early decision, we generally recommend sitting for SATs in August and forgetting about it in October. Like if you're applying early decision and imagine that, I don't know, you get, I mean, if you're applying early decision, you're supposed to do everything perfect. Like you have to do everything, right? Because generally this is the university that you love, right? So I think I know a little bit of you already, and you're probably freaking out about something that you shouldn't be freaking out. Like SATs are going to be fine, and you're probably going to get a good grade. And I would not take SAT, in your case, I would not take SAT as a priority. Like I would go sit for it again, maybe practice a little bit more, but I would focus on having your essays, ready. And I would focus on, having all the documentation ready. It's a lot that you have to do because it's the same thing that you, like everything that you would do for December, you have to do it right now, okay? So try to do everything as best as, as neat as you can. And I mean, I don't know how to answer to that because like you have to have your extracurriculars ready, you have to have your letters ready, you have to have everything ready before. And if you feel that in, mid-November, by the end of October, everything is not ready as you would like it to be, waiting till regular decision is not the worst thing that could happen. But otherwise, like knowing you, and this is advice I'm giving you, not the rest, just take SAT as if it was something more, go there, sit for the exam, and you'll be great, okay? So, and focus on the other elements, okay? Focus on your essays, focus on everything else, okay? And worst come to worst. So, yeah.
All right, so I have like 1 draft and a half of the essays, almost both that are recommendations, except the counselor one. I have my extracurriculars, almost all of them written and have the Common App completed. So is that okay until now?
Yeah, you're done. You're great. I mean, start having the essays reviewed by people, right? And also start focusing on the supplemental essays. So next session, we're going to be
one supplemental essay.
Okay, cool.
I have the Common App and 1 supplemental essay.
What's your early?
About UPenn.
UPenn?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So yeah, I mean, and maybe focus on just one. Don't do early decision and early action. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 11.
I can't, because UPenn is
restrictive.
No, I think it isn't now, but the other ones I would like to apply are restrictive, so it's the same.
Better. Focus on one, the dream one, okay? And then leave the rest for regular decision.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. Martu, I don't know, I'm calling you Martu out of like, what's her nickname?
Yes,
what's
Martu.
Martu? Okay.
Marty.
Marty, okay, cool.
So I was wondering if the university I'm applying to is test optional, and I took the SAT, but in the case that my score does not reach the ones that are usually accepted to the university, should I send it anyways or no?
Oh, everybody asks that question and I never know what to say. I'm going to go on and follow admissions officer's advice. Don't.
Okay.
If it's it's a big difference between what they are asking and what you got, don't. Okay. I think that's the best strategy. Now, if the difference is narrow and your school, it depends on your school as well. If your school is a very small school in a very small province in a province of, I don't know, Santa Cruz, and like I'm mentioning Santa Cruz, but it could be a faraway place as well. It would give some context, because when they are very small schools, if you are first, top student in a class of 18, so it might give them context about if it's a very narrow difference, right?
Okay.
So when it's small schools in very small areas, maybe it's a good way to, it's a good strategy to send the SATs, even if it's not, I'm sorry, not exactly the grade that they generally take, so that they know that compared to other American school kids, you're great,
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Vera?
Well, I was filling my Common App profile, and I was in the part of the grades. I have a doubt about the part that says the GPA, that I was thinking that if the GPA was about the 4 last years, I have to ask for my GPA from the last 4 years of
I know, it's an age-old question. Everybody asks that, and I never know what to say, because it's different, for us. We were having that conversation with our Opportunity Fund students, that it says cumulative GPA. And the cumulative GPA, it's, what did we say? It's very difficult to give you an answer there. I mean, it's the last 3. I would take the last 3 years. The last 4 years, right? It's harder when we're talking about right now, right? Because like we are in the middle of the term. So for us, is how on earth do I calculate the GPA if the year hasn't finished, right? So yes. My recommendation is take the last 3 years and whatever you have for this year and calculate the cumulative GPA, like quinto, bueno, capital, estoy hablando capital, pero ustedes, o sea, quinto, sí. Cuarto, tercero, segundo, sí. And whatever you have from quinto and segundo, tercero, cuarto, right? And do as if 5th year was a year, okay? So, and divide by 4. That's the cumulative GPA, right? Lo que tenés de primero, lo que tenés de segundo, lo que tenés de tercero, lo que tenés de cuarto, lo que tenés de quinto, dividido 4. Okay. So, when you are in December, it's easier because you already have all your grades for the year, okay? And it's easier to say, okay, this is my cumulative GPA because I have completed the last year. Okay.
Okay.
So it's a difficulty for us international students. It's not a difficulty for them because like the years are different, right? So yeah, that's how we've been doing it.
Okay. Something else. The part that it says that you have to put your GPA, it would be like our numbers or their numbers.
No, our numbers, because they use you tell them that the scale is from 1 to 10.
Okay. Yes. Thank you.
Yes, Mora.
Hi again. Talking about the Common App. I'm having a little trouble finishing up describing the activities, listing the extracurricular activities in the Common App. And I wanted to ask you if you have any tips for efficient short descriptions that actually say what you do correctly, that paint the picture of what you do.
Have you checked the models that we have uploaded in our resource center? So yeah, I mean, talk to people, like have others look at your list, okay? Because sometimes, you know, you can ask us as well, but try to talk to friends here, okay? And you should be doing this together, right? Like, look, I wrote this, how would you shorten this? Sometimes somebody else thinks of a way of shortening things or doing, it's a thing of like being efficient with words. So my best suggestion is talk to friends and compare ways of describing, right, the extracurricular activities. And look at the models we have uploaded where they were both very good at doing that. Yeah, talk to students who have been through this already. Okay. I don't know if there is something else that you can think of, Emmy, but yeah.
No, it's basically it. That's a good idea, checking and comparing with someone else's. You know, someone might just have an idea on how to rephrase whatever you want to say and still make it understandable. Because sometimes what we do is we try to, you know, just like condense all information on those 150 words, and then it ends up not even making sense. So just go ahead and proofread it.
Yeah, that's good. I'm going to go to the chat because like before answering your questions, Honey and Andres. So Sandy says, remember, they know we are internet a GPA with the boletines we will upload. Ay, no entendí eso, Sandy. There is a GPA with the boletines we will upload. What was that?
That we have to calculate our GPA regarding the boletines we upload.
Yeah,
so
it has to make sense.
Yeah,
right.
That was my point.
Yeah, it shouldn't raise any red flags, right? If you are providing those report cards, it should be the cumulative GPA of those report cards that you are presenting, okay? Francisco said, I know that interviews are personal. Still, are there resources in College Club to get to know more about them? Their structure, high quality questions from both sides. We do not have one of those yet. We haven't created an interview. I don't think we have. I do have a list of questions that are generally asked somewhere. I do have that. But check College Essay Guy. That guy is the best. I mean, he has resources for everything. And I think he does have a resource for, we should like partner, you know. He does have a resource. I'm sure he does have on interviews, but I think I have some a list of questions that some opportunity fund students like put together at some point on questions that they were asked. So I'm going to see if I find that, and I'm going to put that in the, you know, when I upload this session, today's session, I'm going to see if I have resources on that, or if I can suggest any other resources. Okay.
Also on College Board, you have some like the most frequently asked questions at interviews, and a strategy on how to go about it.
So Antonella, thank you, Emmy. Antonella is asking something about FAFSA. You're not supposed to complete FAFSA. That's like for financial aid. We're going to have a session on financial aid soon, maybe not this month, but next month, maybe by the end of this month. Ya estamos en septiembre, my God. So no, FAFSA is for American students. So no, it's if ISFA or the CSS profile, okay? So I'm going to go with Juani. Last 2 questions. Yes, Juani.
Okay, I want to go quickly. Maybe it's not the typical question, but I saw the space. So if you have any tip or someone here, maybe, for example, in my particular case, I know that it strictly depends on your school, but these 2 months have been like kind of impossible to maybe like skip a class to say, okay, I'm going to fully devote to the process, even though like I have been giving baby steps. So I don't know if you have like any tip to approach my school at some points, because even though, for example, my school principal knows that I'm into this process, like the curricula indeed is not like allowing me to devote the time I would like, maybe, for example.
Okay, so my tip here is early decision does not work for everybody. Okay, if you're going to do everything in a hurry and do things in a messy way just to apply, and you're going to apply like going crazy and risking your mental health, don't. Like there's lots, I mean, most of the people are accepted, like that I've learned were accepted in regular decision last year, so yeah, early decision is a good thing, but you have to do things well, and sometimes it does not pay off to risk your mental health, your last year of school, go suffer through it. When you finish classes, if you've done things well, you'll be finishing classes in November, and you have your whole December to focus on the application. Okay, so sometimes it's better not to apply early decision. It's a very personal choice. It's a personal choice because it's your choice if you want to focus 100% on in the application to study in the US, or if you want to enjoy your last year as a high school student. It's about your own priorities, really. But if you're finding it hard, I would say don't apply early decision and enjoy the process.
Okay, thank you.
Andres, that's the last one.
Yeah, I have 2 questions. The first one, you might have already answered it, but I'm not sure. Can you apply the same year to the same university, early decision and regular decision?
Regular. So what is going to happen is you're going to apply early decision, and if they are not sure about you, they're going to defer you. And if they defer you, you can upload new information. Okay.
Yeah, but if you get rejected, it's not possible to reapply.
I'm not sure. I don't think so, but it might depend on each university's policy. So if you're rejected, the best thing is to apply the following year.
All right. And then the other question is about the class rank. Is the class rank, like as you said, on the GPA, for the last 4 years does count, or is it the whole high school?
Generally, class rank has to do with the last year. When you graduate, I mean, generally schools calculate class rank. It depends on how the school calculates it, really. I mean, generally they calculate it when, you know, they have to choose abanderados and escoltas. And I think that they take what you've done this year, you know, to calculate that. And then when you graduate, they take into account everything. But it will really depend on what the school does. There's a gray area there, you know.
Yeah, because I will have to ask like to the office. There's an office in the school related to it. So I will have to ask them, and I don't know which years to tell them to count, to take account on.
So I would ask them what it is that they do when they have to choose abanderados and escoltas, and I would use that
information. They already
information.
chose them last year.
So what do they do when they choose abanderados and escoltas? What do they take into account?
I don't really know. There are like tutorials. It's only the first year of fourth year is my theory, and then the other is what is the logical one. All these years up to half fourth year, or maybe up to the third year.
Yeah, I would follow the same idea, and I would do that.
But that doesn't count the end of the fourth year and fifth year, which are the most recent ones. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah. I don't know what to say. It really depends on what the school does to choose class rank. Like here, I would say there's a great area there. I mean, it's not carved in stone. It's kind of what the school does. So if I have to be completely honest, just choose whatever you think will be benefit you the most, and ask them to do that, you know. Yeah, I think if you ask me, it's hard to define class rank right now because we're in the middle of the year. At the end of the year, it will be easier because, yeah, I would tell you, just take all the years and, you know, you have all the averages and they have a list. So now
that would be a problem if another student chooses another thing that benefits the other student. And so every student that applies to the US does that, and maybe both two students apply to the same university and they get from the same school.
I mean, where you are from Ort?
Yes, I am.
Well, decide together with all your students, like with all the people at Ort that are applying, you should be like one, you know, you should be a team because everything has to make sense. The school profile, everything has to be the same.
Yeah, we have a group where we discuss the school profile.
Okay, so Naomi will have to do the same thing. Okay, so talk to her and the rest of the Ort students and come up with one. I would say, like, I mean, they've been doing this forever. Like, they have been calculating class rank forever. They did it for other students. So just ask them what they have done in the past and do that. They did it for our students, okay? They did it for Antonella, they did it for Lisandro, they did it for other students, for college club students. So ask them, they know what they should do and what they have been doing. So to just ask them to keep doing what they've been doing all these years, and then let us know so that we finally know what they've been doing. Okay, so somebody had made can I include CCC as an extracurricular? Of course, if you have a spot left and you want to add a CCC as an extracurricular, by all means do that. Some students like choose not to add it because like they have other stuff sometimes, and it's like, you know, but you are devoting time to doing this. So yeah, of course. And I think that that's it for today. Okay. Next session, we are having where we'll be talking about supplemental essays with the 6 colleges consortium. I think they're all colleges from California, if I'm not mistaken. And these are kind of small to mid-sized schools that generally have lots of, no, they're not from California. All of them, they're not from California. Bowdoin is from the East Coast. No, they are all liberal arts colleges that have a lot of interest in having international students who generally also offer a lot of financial aids to international students. Okay, so be there, ask questions, make yourself visible. Okay, when we invite universities, don't come and watch the sessions. You know, afterwards, come to the sessions and talk to the representatives, because we're doing this to increase your visibility with them. Okay, so take advantage of these things that we offer you, and especially when we have visitors from other universities, come and participate. Okay, it's very important that you do that for your own sake. Okay, so thank you everybody for your participation. Thank you, Emmy, for your presentation on interviews, and I'll see you next Thursday, right?
Next Thursday.
That's next Thursday. And we'll have news on the following sessions and the following in-person sessions as well. Okay. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
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 See you.
Well, I'm